Most people think that driving cautiously and making small talk with the examiner is going to do everything you need to impress the examiner, and off you go, you pass your test. But that's actually the worst thing you can do, and I'm going to show you why. I am Josh. I used to be a very sad-faced school teacher. Now I am a very happy driving instructor. I've been a driving instructor for 5 years. I've seen hundreds of people passing their driving test. I've helped thousands of people pass their driving test online as well. And I'm here to do the same with you guys. So listen closely. But first, here's a quick question. And in order to do that, in order to pass our driving test, we need to be able to understand what the examiner's job is. We need to understand what they're thinking. How are they thinking? So for this video, we're going to put ourselves in the examiner's shoes. So first off, here's a quick question. What is the examiner's job? Are they there to teach us?
Nope.
Are they there to coach us? Nope. Are they there to command us? You must do this. Nope. They are just an observer. They're sitting in the car pretending to be a sat-nav. And what would you do if you missed a turning with a sat-nav? Would you turn around and go home? No, you just take the next turning. Maybe be 1 or 2 minutes late. So what? Everything's nice and safe. The examiner's exactly the same. So the first and most important thing with your driving test is do not panic if you miss a turning. There is no fault, there is nothing wrong at all. There is just, oh, miss a turning. Can you redirect me? And that's sometimes very hard when you've come from this school environment and you feel like your brain's telling you, they want you to go that way, and you've missed the turning and then you end up doing something silly. But actually, it's about being safe. You being in control, showing that examiner, I am in control, I know what to do, I am confident enough to be on my own. If you do that, you're going to have a far higher chance of passing your driving test. And I'll tell you a quick story. My brother failed his driving test twice. And we're very single-minded people in our family. We can't multitask at all. Like me doing this video, I can't think of anything else in the world right now rather than being right here. Because if I do, everything will just fall apart. Now, I say this because he failed his driving test and he's very single-minded. What he was doing is he was thinking and focusing about how to impress the examiner, and the best way to do that was obviously to talk to them and be best friends. Let's be friends forever. And he was focusing more on talking to the examiner and telling him about his life and, you know, being polite and what are you doing, and less on his driving. He missed his zebra crossing, and next thing you know, there's someone waiting and the examiner slamming the anchors on. And that's why it's so important that regardless of the examiner, regardless of what happens, if you've got a friend in the car or anything, driving is priority number one. If you're coming out to a roundabout or junction or anything at all that needs a bit more than 5% focus, you ditch everything else that you're doing, you tell everyone to be quiet, and you focus on what's coming up. If you learn to do that, you're going to increase your chances of passing massively. And I still do that now. Got kids in the back fighting, talking to my wife, roundabout comes up, hold on a second, darling. Boys, shut your face, just a second. I don't say that, but. And then I do the roundabout, and then we're back off chatting again. And that way, I'm not going to make the mistakes. So a really important thing there is, one, make sure you're focusing on the road, not on talking to people. And two, don't worry about talking to the examiner and trying to impress the examiner. If you want to talk, then do absolutely chat away. The examiners sometimes love a good chat, but don't compromise your driving to do it because they don't need more friends. Let's be honest, you're never going to see that examiner ever again. You're never going to meet them. It's like meeting someone random in the street for half an hour. It's not going to happen. They know that, so they're not expecting to swap numbers and, you know, go meet in the pub or anywhere after. Sometimes when I take people to the driving test, they actually say to the examiner, listen, I'm not going to talk during this. I'm just going to focus for the half an hour because I'm far more likely to pass my driving test. And they're like, yeah, absolutely. And I'll just daydream for half hour. Perfect. Everyone's a winner. Oh, and yeah, my brother did pass third time because I told him, shut up, stop talking to the examiner and focus on his driving. And that's what I'm saying to you guys. Shut up, stop talking to the examiner and focus on your driving. I'm going a bit off tangent here, but another really big issue on your driving test, okay? Everyone's really worried about making mistakes. Maybe you got a big thing about stalling, or you forget to signal, or as I mentioned before, you miss a turning. And I understand it can feel stressful, but we need to try and turn that frame of mind upside down. Try and think of these small mistakes as not bad, but actually quite good. The examiner sitting in the car next to you, they don't actually care if you stall at all. What they'd really like to do is see that you fix the stall and drive away without flapping. So try and think of your mistakes as more positive. Oh, it's good I made a mistake. I've shown the examiner that, yeah, I stall, I'm a normal person, everyone stalls, and I can fix it quite easily and carry on. If you sit there stalling 15 times and you don't know what the hell's going on, that's not going to be very comfortable for you, not going to be very comfortable for the exam. It's probably not going to go down very well. Same if you forget something like a signal. Flapped it, forgot a signal, never mind, carry on. What they don't want to see is you panicking there. Oh my God, I've forgotten to signal, the world's gonna end. So try and turn that upside down. Small mistakes are actually good. They show the examiner, yes, I can fix these things on my own, showing them I am an independent driver, which is what we want. And this isn't like school. You don't have to write all the information down to earn marks with your bar going up and up to try and aim for that 100%. This is completely different. Instead, you start with full marks. You've got 100 out of 100. All you have to do is avoid those serious mistakes, those dangerous mistakes, like pulling out on people that are going to make that 100% go down very, very quickly. So just remember, mistakes are not bad. Being able to fix the mistakes on your own, good, really important. And that applies to your parking as well. Reverse bay, forward bay, parallel parking. So what if you don't get it in the bay first time? That's not important. What's really important is that you can fix the mistake and get it in the bay the second time. And then let's think about this from the examiner's perspective for a second. You're having to get in this car with someone you've never met. You've no idea if they've ever taken a lesson in their whole life. You can't speak related to the test. You can't help them at all if they stall or anything at all like that. If you do intervene verbally or with your feet or with your hands, the test is over. It's done deal. You're chilling, you're following the route, you've got a sat-nav on, you don't need to do a great deal. And then poor old Becky stalls. Just before a roundabout, she's left it in second gear. Oh well. You can see straight away she's left it in second gear. What a sugar plum. You got two options here. Your first option, you can see she's in the wrong gear straight away. What do you want to happen here? Option one, Becky realizes, resets the gears, realizes, oh crap, what a dingbat, I'm in the wrong gear. Pops it into first, checks around, off you go. Or option two, Becky sits there trying to restart the car over and over and over again. What the car won't restart, the car won't go. 4, 5 times. How long can you sit there as the examiner before you turn around and intervene and say, it's 15 cars behind us, Becky, you're in second gear, come on mate, into first and off you go. Well, of course, everyone's going to want option one, and that's the examiner's perspective from it. They don't mind you making mistakes, they're not bothered about that. All they want to do is see that you can fix the mistake nice and quickly on your own and carry on. Now let's have a look at what the most common things driving examiners look for on a driving test. These are the things that if you don't do, it's going to be a game over. And the first and most common one is your blind spot checks. Now people get a little bit muddled with these. There's a difference between a blind spot check and a shoulder check. A blind spot check is checking right behind you in the blind spot area, behind this pillar where the mirror can't see, to make sure that there's not a car coming round or a car coming out the driveway. You would do a blind spot check when you've been pulled over on the side of the road or stopped in the middle of the road and there's a high risk of someone coming around you. So after an emergency stop, or when you've been asked to pull over on the side of the road, you've been parked for a little while on the side of the road. You wouldn't tend to do a blind spot check every time you go to traffic lights, for instance. Now, we also want to do what would be called a shoulder check. Very similar to a blind spot check, but rather than turning our head right around looking behind this pillar, we're just turning our head 90 degrees in this vicinity here, or this area here in that window there. You want to do that any time that you're approaching a slip road. For instance, when there's a high risk of a car being next to you because there's a second lane and you're driving along. If you're driving along at 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 miles an hour, do you really want to be turning right round looking behind you? No, because you're going to end up turning the wheel at the same time as looking, and it's going to go badly really quickly. However, you do still want to turn your head to make sure that there's nothing directly next to you, because trust me or not, your mirror will not show you if there is a car directly next to you, or motorbike, or anything at all. So, changing lanes, shoulder check, pulling off from the side of the road, blind spot check. The next massive thing for your driving is your acceleration and your braking, and I use this term very loosely because it's actually your awareness. If you look down the road and you spot the signs and the traffic lights coming up, your braking and acceleration will be much smoother naturally. And that's actually what you need to focus. That's probably 50% of your driving, of being a good driver, is looking down the road and being able to scan and see all of the traffic lights and the most important signs. If you get good at that, you are far more likely to pass your driving test. Because if you can see there's a green light down the road and it's been green for the last 5 minutes as you approach, guess what? It's probably going to go red. Or if you can see down the road there's a traffic light that's green and there's a pedestrian tapping on the button there, you know straight away, okay, as I get there, this light may very well change. And that's not about meaning I need to brake in preparation, no. If it's a green light, keep going as normal. But just that mental preparation is going to save you between 1 and 2 seconds of panic braking time, of understanding what's going to happen, being able to check your mirrors, see what's going on, and brake safely to stop at the lights, or, if it's too late, to continue through. Here is a quick example of a driver with good awareness. So as you can see there, we've got a green traffic light. Now it's been green a while, so we're mentally prepared that that light could change. Now in this situation it hasn't, so we continue on at our normal speed. Now we get to this roundabout sign. We can see there's a roundabout coming up, so we know straight away, chances are we may have to slow down. Now if you look ahead, you can see the traffic lights are red. So a good driver with good awareness would already be slowing down really early. We'd also be aware there's a bus in the centre of 2 lanes because it's massive. So we're going to give even more space to make sure there's plenty of the room for the bus. We're not going to be affected and they're not going to be affected. Now as we carry on around the corner, what's the first thing we can see in the distance? We can see traffic lights and they're red. So we would already be braking, slowing the car down, showing the examiner that we have seen those red lights and we are reacting to them. Someone that's not very aware, you could tell straight away because they would continue accelerating until far later, till they're far closer. The problem you've got is the examiner would have seen that red light the second you went round the corner. And he's hoping that you're going to start covering the brake. Traffic lights are probably one of the most important things you can spot. Because they change so often, you have to react very, very quickly. And if you're aware, you can predict what other people are going to do. Now another set of traffic lights here, but this is pedestrian controlled. So if there was a pedestrian there, you would have in the back of your mind, these may change every second. But because there is no pedestrian there, we are confident they are not going to change. And this one's very close to my heart because I also failed a driving test for this, and it's because I wasn't aware of the zebra crossing in front of me. And of course, I can remember the lady's face to this day as the examiner slammed that brake on and the lady's just smiling, waiting on the edge of the zebra crossing. And that was my own fault. I was not aware of the zebra crossing. I was too busy focusing on talking to the examiner. The next big one that I see a lot is the road positioning and trying to avoid the parked cars. Now, no one wants to crash into parked cars, I get that, but we often get too close. In fact, just the other day, I sat in the back watching one of my learners, Sammy, bless him, and this was the closest I've ever seen to someone failing. The examiner actually said, "Congratulations, you've passed," but on the way back, I did actually tick fail. I did put a serious fault for this. I don't know why I've changed it. Maybe I'm just in a good mood. I couldn't believe that, Ian. Couldn't believe. Never seen that in my life. Because the reason Sammy failed is as he was going around the parked car, he was too close. Didn't stay that door's width, which is fine. You can't always stay a door's width in certain situations, but he was just accelerating too much. Now, what you have to remember with this, think about it from the examiner's position. You're sitting here. Where's the examiner sitting? Here. Who's the one directly in line with the parked car? The passenger, the examiner. So although it might not look like you're really close from here, it does when you're that side. And that's why we say you need to stay that door's width. Not because you're really bad at judging the distance, but because all humans are really bad at judging distance. So if you stay that door's width, it doesn't matter if you're just slightly less or just slightly more, it's still going to be safe. When it becomes unsafe is when you're still trying to do 30 miles per hour and you're less than a door's width. When you're clearly less than a door's width, you need to be halving your speed. And if you don't believe me, get yourself less than a door's width on your side and see how it feels. And you'll soon understand why examiners fail you for driving too close to parked cars. Another really important with the parked cars is as we're going around a parked car, the big mistake that people sometimes make is they go round in a semicircle. What I mean by this is we end up driving too close to the parked car, then pulling out very late and continuing in a semicircle as we pass the parked car to carve back in very early. And this almost cuts the corner off the car in front of you and nearly takes the corner off your car. This also means that the corner of your car won't be a door's width from theirs, which means it's absolutely terrifying for the passenger, which unfortunately in this situation is going to be the examiner. So the best way to avoid this is come out from the parked car much earlier so that you're actually straight as you pass the parked car. This also means you won't end up carving back in too early either, again being less than a door's width. And finally, how do we impress the examiner? Now let's be clear, if you don't drive safely, it doesn't matter how much you impress the examiner, you just aren't passing your driving test, that's it. You drive through a red light, you go through a stop sign, doesn't matter how nice a person you are, it's not going to happen. However, saying that, like in Sammy's situation, where you've got that situation where they've said, I did tick the fail button, but I've changed my mind and I've passed you. Those are the situations where those first impressions and impressing the examiner is going to get you that pass certificate. And this is what you can do. The first thing is make sure the inside of your car is clean. The examiner doesn't want to sit it in dog hair and whatever else. Think about when you've got in someone's really disgusting, dirty car. I'm not about the outside. Outside doesn't matter as long as you can see the number plate, but the inside does. The examiner's got to sit in there. Ideally, it doesn't want to stink. Ideally, it doesn't want to be covered in dog hair. First impression, make it count. And think about it this way. If you've got to go and sit in someone's dirty, stinky car and you decide, you know what, I will do it. How are you going to feel for that half an hour? Are you going to be like, yes, I love this. This is great. This car stinks. It's covered in dog hair. I am loving life. Or are you already on the backfire? You're feeling a little bit back up now. Great. I'm going to stink. I'm in a stinky car. Keep that in mind. Make sure your car's clean inside. It doesn't have to smell like roses. Just clean. Get to your driving test 10 minutes early. Not half an hour early, just 10 minutes. You're going to feel a million times better if you can get that car reversed into a bay. Don't drive forward into a bay, reversed, because you don't want the first thing on your driving test to have to reverse out a bay. No more than 10 minutes before, because you're going to disturb someone else's test, and you don't want to be panicking that you're late either. It's going to give you time to go to the toilet, it's going to give you time to sit down and just have a little rest. Get your license out, make sure that's nice and ready, and you're ready to go. You could be the first out then. Now, maybe you've come in your own car. If you have, you are going to end up needing a central mirror. Well, the examiner's going to need one, you don't particularly. If you don't have one, don't panic. You don't need to go out and buy one. Just make sure that you let the examiner know when they come out. Otherwise, they're only going to have to go back from the car inside to get one. And then again, just going to get that back up a little bit when you could have just said, can you bring your spare central mirror, as I don't have one. Sometimes people go into super cautious mode. Now, the most important thing is to drive like a safe, normal driver. Sometimes I take people to their driving test, they're really, really good, they're ready for the test, they're driving on their own, yeah, great. And then they turn into this robot, they start going extra slow, being super cautious, going slower than everyone else. Clearly they're slowing everyone down because they want to be really cautious, thinking that that's going to get them over the finish line, and it just doesn't. Because, okay, yes, you're less likely to crash into something now, but now you're causing someone else to have to overtake you because you've decided to go 10 miles per hour less than everyone else in a 30 zone. This is slowing down the entire friggin' road around you for the next hour, and everyone's gonna be late for work. So try not drive extra slow, no slower than you normally would. Stay within the speed limits, stay when it's safe. If you're in meeting traffic situations, lots of parked cars, hazards, then yes, slow down more. If the road is clear, keep up with the flow of traffic, but staying within the speed limit. The idea is to look confident, but not rushed. And finally, the never give up rule. Now, my sister-in-law, Ellie, bless her cotton socks, she did a driving test recently, did a parallel park, went up the curb, didn't come back off the curb, just said no, I give up, called it, knock on the head, end off, drove really well, gets back, examiner says, yeah, she failed, did the parallel park, went on the curb and gave up. Said she didn't even try and come off the curb. If she come off the curb, the examiner's implying that she would have passed, but she gave up. You never give up. Doesn't matter what happens. Never ever give up. Because you never truly know if you failed until you get back and the examiner says, you passed or you haven't. And remember, imagine you're an examiner, what do you truly want from that half an hour? You just want a nice, easy drive for half an hour, just chilling. Imagine you're in a taxi. How would you want to feel in a taxi? Would you want to feel like the person can't friggin' drive? Or do you just want a nice, chilled, easy drive, heading home? That's all the examiner wants. Try and keep that in the front of your mind rather than making them out to be something they're not inside your head and doing something silly on your driving test. Try and drive like you've already got your driving license. And this person is just watching you for half an hour drive like you normally do. Finally, remember, your examiner wants to see you pass. They don't want to see you getting out the car almost in tears. That does not give them thrills. Think about it positively. They are on your side. They want to give you that certificate. Get ready for it. Good luck. Let me know how it goes. Did you know if you do anything in life with someone else, you are far more likely to succeed? And the driving test is exactly the same. If this video has helped you, share it with a friend. Talk about it together, go over the bits together, and you're both more likely to pass your driving test.